Hi, this is Kate from Generate Magic, and today I want to talk about manifestation and music and how the two really kind of go hand in hand. And I've talked about this before, but I was inspired to revisit the topic from a conversation with Tim Grimes the other day in his group session. And I even have a whole playlist called Metaphysical Messages in Music. I think music is such a powerful tool, not just for manifestation, but in general, just for feeling amazing and feeling just more connected to God and more connected to ourselves as well. And just more connected to everyone and everything around us. And so I've told the story before of how before I even knew what conscious manifestation was, before I'd ever heard of Abraham Hicks or law of attraction or The Secret or any of that, I had a pretty powerful experience where I imagined a scene while I was dancing, and then that scene actually unfolded in my physical reality just a couple of weeks later. And I'm not going to go into it again, but I'll link to a video where I go more deeply into that process. But I want to talk just kind of how I specifically work with music. And so I like to listen to music throughout the day as I'm just going about my day. But usually once a day, usually in the evening, I like to do what I call a dance meditation. And meditation for me, it's something that we're always doing throughout the day. But it's more easy for me, at least, to get into that meditative state when I'm in movement and when I'm in flow. And really, so I really feel like dance is a way that we can embody all these emotions and all these sensations. And so I do it in a couple of different ways. And so sometimes I actually listen specifically to the messages in music, and so that's where my playlist Metaphysical Messages in Music comes from. And because I think music can have so many powerful messages, and it's not just what's literally being said in the lyrics, but it's so much more than that. It's the subtext, it's everything that's going on. And like we kind of discussed this in Tim's group yesterday, that sometimes a song that has very sad lyrics can also be a very healing process. It can help us to more deeply connect into those emotions. So if we're going through an experience of grief or heartache, then music can help us to connect to that experience. And by connecting to it, it can actually help us to release those emotions and to move past that experience. And yeah, so sometimes, and I personally, when it comes to music, I prefer dance music from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so some of my favorite artists are Earth, Wind, and Fire. Who else? Let's see, I love Donna Summers, I love Whitney Houston. And so all of these, I think, are just very powerful performers. And it's not just the messages in their songs, but you can really, when you listen to the music, you can really just feel it in your very soul. Like you can feel the essence of just this pure positive energy, this pure love that's flowing through their music. And so to me, it's just, there's a really deep power that's running through this music. And so sometimes I'll be connecting specifically to the music itself, and then other times I kind of view the music more as a template. And so I also like a lot of instrumental music. I love house music, and just kind of using, I'll think of, perhaps I'll do like an imaginal scene of something that I would like to experience, or I'll repeat affirmations to myself, or I'll just be having a very empowering inner conversation with myself. And so the music kind of provides like a backdrop to that. And through everything, through the music, and then through the dance, and through moving my body, and just really kind of embodying all these sensations, all the thoughts, all the emotions, and really just kind of sinking in to the identity of the person who's experiencing whatever it is that I desire to experience, then I can feel it that much more viscerally, that much more deeply, and really just integrate it into every fiber of my being. And So I would really encourage you to do this as well. And so I call it my dance meditation because it's a very like private experience for me. It's not something that I necessarily do with other people. So if you're like self-conscious or if you feel kind of shy about dancing, then that's something to keep in mind, that you don't have to be, because trust me, when I was a kid, like I took dance lessons and I hated it. And so it's not something that has to be like an unpleasant experience for you. And so, yeah, so it can just be something that's, or it's not something, that has to be like, where you're really just feeling self-conscious. To me, it's just it's just very free-flowing, it's very personal. And so that's why I call it like a meditation, like it's a very meditative experience for me. And then in my coaching, so some of my coaching, well, all of my coaching programs, really, I like to do these dance meditations as well. But I actually, while we're doing it, it's very powerful to do it together as a group, but I actually encourage people to turn their cameras off, and because I don't want them to be self-conscious. And especially, I don't know, it's different when you're doing it on camera versus doing it, in a room full of people, because it's just kind of, the camera's just kind of catching like a little piece of you, and it's just kind of, I just feel it's very sort of like an awkward experience, and it sort of takes you out of yourself, and because the camera's on, it kind of makes you feel like you're on display, and it makes it hard for you to really get into that meditative experience. And so that's why I encourage people to turn their cameras off, and then once the song is over, then we'll all kind of come back together as a group, and we'll talk about kind of what we experienced during the meditation process. And so I don't really talk a lot about my coaching, but I thought I would talk about it a little bit more. And so the name Generate Magic, I actually came up with this name back in I believe it was back in 2017. Like, it started out just as a blog initially, and it was through I did like a lot of brainstorming, and something about the name just felt, and so generate, it's a verb, it's a very active verb, and so it's something that you're doing. And then magic is something that I think of as, again, it's not, I've said this before, but it's not like wizards or pulling rabbits out of hats or magic or tricks or anything like that. It's just kind of connecting to the magic in everyday life, kind of, and I see it as a process of alchemy. And so it's taking something that might be seen as very mundane and it's connecting to the magic behind it, and really just kind of connecting to the magic, connecting to that presence of God or source or whatever you want to call it, just connecting to that in everyday life, and as you go about your experiences, and so that's why I like to talk about, just kind of meditating as in you're constantly thinking of yourself as in meditation and as in flow. And so it's not something where you always have to kind of sit down and light your candles or your incense or whatever, or sit cross-legged. It's you can meditate while you're at the grocery store. And the more you think of, I like to think of just everything as being very integrated together. And so that's what a lot of my coaching does, is it's just about integrating all of this stuff together. And because I've had this experience many times, and I'm sure you have too, where I've gone to a retreat or I've gone to a seminar, or even maybe I had a session with somebody, but it was a more passive session where maybe it was like kind of with the person was sending me energy, or it was kind of a more traditional coaching or therapy session where I was talking about my issues and then the person was giving me advice. But I felt very like inspired during the session or during the retreat, and then maybe for a few days afterwards, but then real life kind of sets in, and then it very quickly you forget about it, and you just go back to the quote unquote daily grind. And so when I was developing the coaching, I wanted to develop something that was really kind of shown first of all for myself, because I didn't really see anything else like it out there, where it was more interactive and it was more just kind of seeing yourself as a divine tool, and connecting with source at all times, and connecting with the magic in everyday life, and really just kind of seeing yourself as a vessel, and taking everything that you experience, what I like to call the raw materials of your life, and really weaving them into a beautiful tapestry. And I'm a writer, and so I like to use a lot of analogies that have to do with writing our ideal life story, or writing our dream life into existence, and doing just a lot of fun processes around that. And yeah, I just really like to keep it light and to keep it fun. I think so often when it comes to manifestation, a lot of this stuff can become super serious, and I fall into it too. And so I just like to keep a lightness, a light touch about it, and sort of like a playful touch. And so I think the more we can see the magic in our everyday life, the less we experience that kind of roller coaster ride of up and down, and always feeling like a slave to our emotions or a slave to circumstance, and really just kind of realizing that we have more power than we think. And that's kind of where conscious creation comes into play too, and seeing ourselves as creators, and seeing that, yeah, creativity, it can be writing, it can be drawing, and it can be singing, but it's not limited to that. And so the more we get in touch with our inner creator, the more we'll be able to really create the life that we want. And so yeah, I do a lot of group programs. I also do one-on-one coaching. And so you want to, yeah, just kind of keep in touch and learn more about what I do. I always link to my website. It's just generatemagik.com. And so I link to that in the description of all my videos. And so you can go there to find out more. And I have like a free, I guess they call it in the business world, they call it like a lead magnet, but basically it's just like a free gift when you join my email list. And I think it's super cool personally. Obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I put a lot of love into this, and a lot of energy into just making this the best that it can be. And so this gets back to the whole theme of music. And so the whole thing, it's a playlist of 12 songs, and the type of music that I mentioned, a lot of it is kind of, dance music from, I like to mix it up a little bit. So there's some disco in there, there's some techno in there, but it's all kind of dance music, I guess, is the overarching genre. But I call it a guided musical journey. And so there's there's kind of journaling prompts that go along with each song. And so it really kind of encourages you to really kind of take the messages in the songs, or really it's kind of making your own meaning out of the songs, and really just kind of weaving it into your daily life. And so just to give you one example, like one of the songs is called Saturday, and it kind of goes into this whole kind of experience of you work your 9 to 5 and Monday through Friday, and then all of a sudden it's Saturday, right? And it's payday, and you get to go out and you get to be with your friends, and it's so much fun. It's a really good song. It's a really fun, uplifting song. But in the journaling prompt, I encourage you to make every day a Saturday, right? To see every day as having that joy and that freedom and connecting with your loved ones. And so instead of just kind of living for the weekends, which I definitely used to do that back in my partying days especially, and when I was doing jobs that I didn't really enjoy or wasn't really passionate about. But yeah, just really kind of seeing every day as a Saturday. So that's just one example. But yeah, I would encourage you to do that, and if you haven't already. But yeah, I want to close. In closing, I think music is just such a powerful tool, and obviously find the music that resonates with you. And so if you don't like dance music, then find obviously find a music that does resonate with you. And I think when you can integrate movement into it, embodiment into it, it makes it all the much more powerful. And so with that, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.